Developing literacy is as easy as pie. Or is it? Let's take a look at the steps involved in developing literacy. First, I want to talk about teacher preparedness. Teachers need to understand the tools they need to teach literacy, including response to intervention, a multi-tiered approach to help all learners, and to determine the need for further instruction and/or intervention based on research and observation in both general and special education programs. They have to understand the Common Core state standards. They should know about understanding by design, which is a method used to design units backwards from the desired outcomes required by the standards back to the current student level of understanding. They also have to understand current technologies and teaching methods, such as direct instruction, where the teacher tells the students what they need to know, the inquiry method, for example, where the students ask their own questions on their own, and the teacher guides them towards how to find the answer. And theories like Piaget and his stages of development, and Vygotsky, who stresses the importance of social interaction in learning, and Montessori, who emphasizes the importance of students' interests. All these tools are used in conjugation to create independent thinkers. Now, I want to get to the core of the matter, and I don't mean really getting to the core. I mean teachers need to have an understanding of metacognitive development of their students. Further, they need to know how to reach students at different stages of cognitive development. Having a background knowledge in teaching methods and techniques and the ability to change or combine these techniques to best serve the students. Being able to prepare a suitable teaching environment ready for the type of teaching that you're going to engage in is a way a student can differentiate their classroom. They can create welcoming space that allows the students to work safely in a way that best suits the students and the situation. You have to be ready for all kinds of students, ready to find out what each student knows and how best to meet those needs. Every student should come into class with a clean slate. Enter the students. For the sake of this metaphor, let's consider the apple. Every apple is a student. All students are different. They're different shapes, sizes, and colors. You have to look at each student to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. Some weaknesses may be more obvious than others. In some cases, general instruction techniques will work perfectly, but it is not for every student. You have to assess your students early and often. Now, there's 3 main types of assessment. There's pre-assessment, where you determine each student's readiness. This will help you decide the best way you can help them grow and learn. Formative assessment is designed to encourage learning and to provide immediate specific feedback and instructional correctives. It can come in forms such as homework, papers, projects, observations, or questioning. There's a feedback loop involved here where teacher observation leads to tweaks in instruction, which lead to student action, which lead to more teacher observation, and repeat. There's also summative assessment, which is determining how much students have learned to measure each student achievement in order to give grades. This can come in the form of chapter tests, semester exams, and final papers or presentations. Once you've determined what your students know and what you need to teach them, now you can start planning your instruction. Differentiated instruction is instruction created to reach all students of the class. Teachers can differentiate their instruction through the content or the information and ideas students grapple with to reach their learning goals, the process of instruction, or how the students take in and make sense of the content, and the environment or the climate and tone of the classroom. Now, the product or outcome and how students show what they know, understand, and what they can do. Now, this is all based on the students' level of readiness and their level of understanding, their interests or their likes and dislikes, their learning profiles, so if they are English language learners, multicultural, or if they have special needs, or if they're an average kid. Now, you also need to build your lessons using tools and materials of literacy instruction. Phonics and phonemic awareness is your flower in this metaphor. Children's phonemic awareness includes auditory perception, auditory awareness, and auditory discrimination. Teaching phonics is teaching students to use letter-sound relationships and letter patterns to decode words while at the same time using the context of the material to help the students identify the words. Butter in our scenario is our vocabulary. It'll really help stick everything together. When teaching vocabulary, teachers need to understand the connections between phonics instruction and spelling instruction. And there's three main approaches for spelling instruction, including the selection of words because of consistent spelling patterns, the selection of words for frequency of use, or the selection of words that relate the spelling back to the meaning. Comprehension, or the act of understanding what is read, heard, or seen. And teaching vocabulary can lead you to that comprehension. And teaching comprehension can lead to fluency. Now, fluent readers don't necessarily separate reading into skills, but they perceive the reading process more holistically. You can have cinnamon without nutmeg, but isn't the pie better when you have both? Now, there's the reading and writing connection. We're going to call that our salts today. Yes, you can read. Yes, you have to read to write. And that might seem like a small thing, like that little pinch of salt. But it can make all the difference to the flavor of your pie. Practicing writing through the process of pre-writing, actual writing, and revising that writing really enhance comprehension and fluency. Now, the more tools that you have at your disposal, the more prepared you'll be to reach your students. There's multiple iPad apps and websites that can help you with all the pieces of literacy instructions. You just have to look through them for the one that will best meet the needs of your students. But don't be afraid to go with what works. If a student works well with flashcards and repetition, use that. If a phonics computer game works better, use that. You just know what your students need. Which brings us to motivation, or the sugar in our scenario. If the students are not motivated, they will not participate, and therefore they will not learn. Know your students' likes and incorporate them into your instruction. Now we're back to our pie dough, or our crust. In order to be critically literate, you have to be a code breaker, a meaning maker, a text user, and a text critic. Teachers have to give the student a foundation in phonics and an understanding of vocabulary that can lead to comprehension and fluency, to prepare them to understand a whole entire text. Teachers help them understand where the information is coming from, to prepare them to be able to discern what the author is trying to get them to think and why. You got to add some motivation to get them to think and question on their own. Put everything all together. Give them the tools to answer their own questions and guide them to their own understandings. To get them ready to try it on their own, bake at 425 degrees for 50 to 60 minutes. Hopefully, then the students are ready to join the larger community pie. Here's a list of references. And any questions? Thank you.